Hey, it's Novice here, and one of my favorite things of all time is unique power systems. Like you got Nin from Hunter x Hunter, you got Stans from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and then you got domain expansions in Jujutsu Kaisen. And that's what I want to talk about today. The domain expansions I personally would want, and the domain expansions I personally do not want. Like you can get those away from me, and then a few that would be almost criminal not to talk about. Right, and I'm gonna start the list off with talking about the ones that I don't want. We'll work our way up. So the first on the stinker list, the ones I don't want, is the Chimera Shadow Garden that Megami uses like all of two times in the show, right? He uses it, I think, against one of the finger bearers in season one, and then he uses it again fighting Dagon, and that's like all I've seen in the anime. And I've loosely kept up with the manga to where I know all the ones on this list I'm gonna talk about. But like in terms of, like it only really has style points, right? You got the shadow beast coming out of the shadow soup that's on the ground. It's kind of sick, but that's all it really is. And I know you're gonna be in the comments saying like, "Hey, it's not actually useless. It actually has a real good use." And I'm sorry, like it is just like my least favorite thing about Megami. And like his technique is cool, but then he was like push out the shadows and make a domain. It's kind of lame, right? And speaking of kind of lame, on the next of the stinker list, it's self embodiment of perfection. Mahito and his self-centered self. I do not like this. It looks so gross. Like, how you gonna have hands come out your mouth to form gang signs? Like, make it make sense. It's just so gross, right? Like, he's throwing up all these hand signs to activate his domain, and it's happening in his mouth. Yeah, you can miss me with all that, right? And his hit factor is just hands. Like I know he's supposed to just be gross, like a gross character who doesn't really care as long because he can mold his soul into whatever he wants. But just like keep that away from me, right? It's just not good to look at. And what else isn't good to look at is like Yuji's domain. Like this man was fighting Sukuna. He is supposed to be the main character. He's supposed to have the coolest domain. And he doesn't. He has one of the biggest domains. But like other than that, it's just like a train station that leads to a shrine. And he's like, all right, let's throw these hands. Like it makes no sense if you think about it. It's just like just get it away from me. It's just so bad, right? And speaking of so bad, there's another one that is just almost as equally bad, but in like a different way. And that is, what is it called? The Horizon of the Captivating Skanda. Dagon's domain is literally just a beach episode. A beach episode that throws fish at you. That's it. That's his domain. And that's why it took Toji like 10 seconds to kill this dude. Because, gosh, it's just so useless. I don't like it. It's just so bad, right? And I think I've talked about all of the useless ones that, I mean, not the useless ones, but all the ones that I don't want, the stinker list. Like the real big, like, you can miss me with that, damn, right? And we're gonna go move on to the next category, right? And it's the one, and it's just one of them, right? And it's just one that in just seems useless, right? And I know I'm gonna get hate for this, but it's Gojo's Infinite Void. Yeah, like sure you can overload your opponent with infinite data, but that's all it does. Is it basically turns the brain to soup, but it doesn't kill them unless they're normal people. Like Jogo lived through that, Sukuna lived through that, I think there was someone else who lived through that. I could be wrong. It's too many chapters to keep up with. I only watched the YouTube videos on it. But like Infinite Void, like I don't know. It's just, how should I put this? Kind of like useless, right? And we'll go to the less useless ones, and the ones that I personally would want. Like, and they might not all be useful, but when you see the list, you're gonna be like, oh, maybe that makes sense, right? And the first on the list of the ones that I would want is Coffin of the Iron Mountain, Jogo's domain. And you might be thinking to yourself, you might be even commenting it down below, Novice. Why is Jogo's in the list that you do want and Gojo's is in the ones you don't want? And that is simple. Have you ever built, have you ever made a paper mache volcano like in school? With the vinegar and the baking soda and it just erupts. Basically, that just on a big scale and it's a real volcano. Every fifth grader who is in a science fair would absolutely love to see this, right? So that's why it goes on my list. For all the fifth graders who never got to sit there and have the volcano fountain with their dad and grew up and was like, you know what? That's kind of cool. It's for y'all. I'm doing this for you. This is why I want it, right? And the second one on the list of the ones I do want, the winners, is Malevolent Shrine, Sukuna's, the main antagonist of the story. Mostly because it's just a cut one. I'm pretty sure you can dial it down to however much you want and just use it if you're like on MasterChef. Chop chop. That's all, right? It is just that cool of a domain expansion. Plus, the gang signs that you need. I don't know how to do them with my hands, and you can't see what I'm trying to do, but it looks like I'm trying to make a rabbit with them. Anyway, truth be told, it's just cool. And then the way Sukuna says it in the show, like malevolent shrine, is kind of iconic, right? And another almost iconic one, and this is primarily from the manga, is Deadly Sentencing. Higuruma's domain expansion is just a courtroom, and who's ever seen like Suits or any other show, you know what? Lawyering sounds cool, and their superpower is practically domain expansions are just superpowers, is a courtroom. That is kind of cool. Like Higuruma kind of became like a useless character because ominously Gege Akatami just kind of like, yeah, he's a character and this is gonna work, but it didn't work. But Higuruma's Deadly Sentencing, where it's just a courtroom, is kind of cool because you can be like, objection! And that is it. If you ever wanted to be a lawyer and you couldn't pass the bar exam, this would probably be the next best thing, is Deadly Sentencing, right? One of the other ones that I really do want is kind of a funnier one, and it's Idle Death Gamble. And that is Hakari's domain expansion. And that's just where he's just, rocking out. Basically, Pachinko's his game, and he always wins. Like, dude does a funny dance, infinite curse energy because he's always hitting them jackpots. I mean, he can just force a jackpot to get him infinite energy. Dude dueled one of Sukuna's right hand people to a stalemate to the end of the story, to where the dude's like, yeah, I'm just gonna peace out from here afterwards. And you know what? That is one of the best ways to sit there and be like, well, where's that femboy? Right. And I think this brings me to my last one that I actually want. Right. And it's Authentic Mutual Love, Yuta's domain. And you might be thinking to yourself, Novice, why do you want Yuta's domain? It was only really not useful. And the simple thing is, I don't know if y'all ever seen Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, but this domain is practically that world marble where he could just copy whatever he wants. Right? Sure, he has to eat people or do something along those lines, and he doesn't know which sword has which curse technique. But if you think about it, that's a gamble I'm willing to take. And we already discussed right now, I mean, a few minutes ago, that I got, the idle death gamble going. So I'm already hitting them jackpots. So, I'm getting all of these doves when it comes to picking up these curse technique swords and using them. Right? It's just flat, simple, authentic mutual love. Terrible name for a domain. Cool concept for it because it's just unlimited blade works to a T. Right? And that brings me to the last category of this list. And it's the one that it doesn't count as a domain. But if you've seen the show, you're thinking it should be a domain. And I'm going to dub this Totos Delusion, right? Because Toto Yuji are fighting Mahito and was it the Shibuya incident? And they're just going back and forth, Black Flash, and fucking Toto just for some reason the little necklace that he has opens to this idol, and the other side is obviously probably Yuji, but the episode just goes so nutty with him and his girl that he's imagining going through the magical girl transformations and him just smoking Mahito with the black flash that really doesn't do anything, but the way it is in the anime just makes it so worth it. Like, you gonna tell me Toto's delusion is strong enough to break canon, and I'm not going to put it on this list as one that doesn't count but needs to be mentioned as an honorable mention. This thing is just so funny that anyone who's seen the episode will probably agree. And that is what concludes this list. Like, it's not a serious list in the slightest. Like, the stinkers list, I don't want any part of. You can say what you want about Gojo's Infinite Void, but at the end of the day, it's my list, and there's a reason why I put Jogo in front of Gojo because it's also because their names are funny, because it's almost the same name, and also baking soda volcanoes are great. But that is basically this list in this video. So if you liked it and want to tell me how wrong I am or how correct I am in the comments, be nice about it and like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all around. Thank you.